ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪੁ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਚੱਕਰ ਚਿਹਨ ਅਰ ਵਰਨ ਜਾਤ ਅਰ ਪਾਤ ਨਹਿੰ ਜੇਹ ਰੂਪ ਰੰਗ ਅਰ ਰੇਖ ਭੇਖ ਕਉ ਕਹਿ ਨ ਸਕਤ ਕੀਹ ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਨਭਉ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਅਮਿਤੋਜ ਕਹਿਜੈ ਕੋਟ ਇੰਦਰ ਇੰਦਰਾਣ ਸਾਹੇ ਸਾਹਾਣ ਗਣਿਜੈ ਤ੍ਰੇ ਪਵਨ ਮਹੀਪ ਸੁਰ ਨਰ ਅਸੁਰ ਨੇਤ ਨੇਤ ਬਨ ਤ੍ਰਿਨ ਕਹਿਤ ਤਵੈ ਸਰਬ ਨਾਮ ਕਥਾ ਕਵਨ ਕਰਮ ਨਾਮ ਬਰਨਤ ਸਮਤ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਖੜਕ ਕੋ ਕਰੋ ਸੁਹਿਤ ਚਿਤ ਲਾਏ ਪੂਰਨ ਕਰੋ ਗਿਰੰਥ ਇਹ ਤੁਮ ਮੋਹਿ ਕਰਹੁ ਸਹਾਏ ਮੂਕ ਊਚਰੈ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਖਟ ਪਿੰਗ ਕਿਰਨ ਚੜ ਜਾਏ ਅੰਤ ਲਖੈ ਬਦਰੋ ਸੁਨੈ ਜੋ ਕਾਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਾਏ ਕਹਾਂ ਬੁੱਧ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੁਛ ਹਮਾਰੀ ਵਰਨ ਸਕੈ ਮਹਿਮਾ ਜੋ ਤਿਹਾਰੀ ਹਮ ਨਾ ਸਕਤ ਕਰ ਸਿਫਤ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ ਆਪ ਲਿਹੋ ਤੁਮ ਕਥਾ ਸੁਧਾਰੀ ਕਹਾਂ ਬੁੱਧ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੁਛ ਹਮਾਰੀ ਵਰਨ ਸਕੈ ਮਹਿਮਾ ਜੋ ਤਿਹਾਰੀ ਹਮ ਨਾ ਸਕਤ ਕਰ ਸਿਫਤ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ ਆਪ ਲਿਹੋ ਤੁਮ ਕਥਾ ਸੁਧਾਰੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, we're blessed that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj themselves has called us here to this virtual Sadh Sangat where we are going through the Ladiwar Katha of Sri Jaap Sahib. Ladiwar means lagatar. Ladiwar Katha means that Katha that is going continuously. Today, we're blessed because not only has Gurpurav of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj just recently passed, but the immense sake, the immense dihade of the Shaheed Singhs all have passed. The Samgurbani is such a bani that brings our focus, brings our attention into the charan of those Shaheeds, into those pages of history that are written with a golden pen. That's what Saka means. Saka means those priceless pages of history that are written with a Saneri kalam, or written with a beautiful pen. Sadh Sangat ji, in the recent Katha Darbars, we went through the first Mool of Jaap Sahib, Chakar Chihin ar Baranjat ar Paat Nahin Jih, Roop Rang ar Rekh Pe Ko Keh Na Sakat Kehi. We went through the Mool of Jaap Sahib. The Mool Mantra you can say of Sri Dasam Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Hun, the first Pajang Paryat Chand is starting. Pajang means a snake. Paryat means chal. This chand will carry the chal of a snake. What's interesting about Dasam Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is that is written in Chanda Bandi. Chanda Bandi ਵਿੱਚ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਬਾਣੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, Aad Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is written in rags, divided by rags. Dasam Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is divided by chants. Rags are for ragis, chants are for kavis. Maybe this is the reason Guru Sahib calls themselves a kavi. Kabyo bach benti chopai. They call themselves a kavi. They call themselves a poet. Why? Because they're putting themselves onto the same arena of Gursikhs, of Vidwans, of Kavis, of poets. They put themselves right there next to them. They sit down right there into the laps of the Sad Sangat. And they say, Tu Sahib, O Sahib, main uska chehra. They say that you are my master, Khalsa Ji. Hey Khalsa, you are my Malik. You are my Satguru Pura. And I'm your chela. I'm your follower. All of the Samgurbani is written in these chants, different chants. As we go through each one, we'll briefly go over the name of the chant and what it means, and how each chant has to be adhering to that maryada of chants. Aao fi Saad Sangat Ji, let's start this katha. Today, Das will be alone during this katha, but from now on, we'll have a party sing with us as well, Guru's Kirpa Karan. Because Jira Katha da ras hega ni, the traditional way of Katha is where you have a party sing with you, and then there's a Katha Vachik as well. The party sing reads the part, and the Katha Vachik does the translation, or does the vichar, or the Katha on that pankti. This is the traditional form of Katha. Nowadays, it's very rarely seen on our stages. Guru Kripa Karan. Okay, moving on, we'll have a party sing for you guys as well. Aao fi Saad Sangat Ji, apne man birti chit nu ekagar karna. Let's take our focus and focus on Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's charan. Akhna karno ji Satnam Sri Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Satnam Sri Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Bhajang Paryat Chand. This chand's name is Bhajang Paryat. Like we said, Bhajang means a snake. Paryat means a chal. The chal of the snake, this chand will follow. Namastwang Akale. Guru Sahib starts their Jaap Sahib by saying the word Akal. This word Akal was first uttered by Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. In Mool Mantra, we do darshan of this word Akal. Guru Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, when they first did a chakara in the Dharti of Baghdad, which we say in the western areas as Baghdad, ਬਗਦਾਦ ਦੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਂਗ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਇੱਕ ਜਕਾਰਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ। When Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj on their Udasiyan went to the Arab Desh, the countries revolving around Arab, Baghdad, Iran, the Turk-orientated countries, Guru Nanak Dev Ji met someone named Peer Dastagir. Or that Sakhi of Peer Dastagir, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਜਾਣਨ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਏਗੇ, you must have known that Sakhi. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji walks into Baghdad, Bhai Gurdas Ji says, ਦਿੱਤੀ ਬਾਂਗ, ਕਿ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਂਗ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਇੱਕ ਜਕਾਰਾ ਛੱਡਿਆ. Bang means jakara. What was the jakara? They said, Gurbar Akal. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji said this jakara, Sun hua jahana. Bhai Gurdas Ji says the whole jahan, the whole dharti of Baghdad became sun. Sunman hoi nagari. ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨਗਰੀ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਸੁਨਮਨ ਹੋ ਗਈ. ਸੁਨਮਨ means they went into this state of samadhi. When they heard this word akal, they went to the state of samadhi. This word akal, we all casually say means timeless, but there's a huge concept this word is carrying that we're not understanding, Satsangati. Because we don't understand this concept of akal and kal, we trip out when we read Gurbani, we trip out when we read the Samgurbani, because we don't understand the Siddhant. Today, Das will focus on just this word akal. Let's look at the orientation of the Samgurbani. How is it orientated? Well, first, you have Sri Jaap Sahib. Then you have Sri Akal Ustad. Then after Akal Ustad, the Parkaram, the philosophy of the Baniya seem to change. They don't really change, but they seem to change. Starting with Bachitar Natak. Why? Because the first Adhyay, the first chapter, which we call Adhyay, in Bachitar Natak is called Sri Kal Ji Ki Ustad. It doesn't say Akal, it says Kal Ji Ki Ustad. We're going from Akal to Kal. You will need to understand these two different words. You will need to understand them very carefully to understand the philosophy of Gurbani, especially the Samgurbani. There was a movement in India called the Bhakti movement. The Bhakti movement in the south started around the 7th century all the way to the 10th century. The Bhakti movement in the north of India started around the 11th century, moving onwards. What was the Bhakti movement? The Bhakti movement was all about prachar being done to the common person. What is Sikhi? Sikhi is a home for the common person. The philosophy of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj Gurbani is so deep, but because we don't understand the context of a Gurbani, we term it to be a normal Granth. We look at Gurbani as a normal scripture, but maaf karna Saad Sangat Ji. Gurbani is the pinnacle of this movement, and I'll explain why. The Bhakti movement started in the south. The main visha, the main purpose of the Bhakti movement was religion or faith or connecting to Paramatma had become a caste sensitive thing. It had become very exclusive. If you wanted to connect to Paramatma, you first had to be a Brahman. You had to be a high caste Brahman, you had to be a high caste Buddhist person. And so there was a lot of exclusivity to Dharam, to faith. You had to be born a certain way, you had to have the certain resources to practice your Dharam. Otherwise, you would need someone else's help to practice your Dharam. This was the darkness that people were kept into. What happens now in the 7th century is different Bhagats rise up. Bhagats like Mirabai, Bhagats like Bhagat Tralochan ji, Bhagat Jayadev ji, Bhagat Kabir ji in the north, Bhagat Tanna ji, Bhagat San ji, Bhagat Ramanand ji. And these names sound familiar because they are familiar. These are the Bhagats that are in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Interesting enough, the Bhagats in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj are not normal Bhagats. They're all Bhagats of the Bhakti movement. When these Bhagats emerged, their philosophy was one. Their philosophy was, let's take faith and put into the common house. Let's take faith, which is reserved for this exclusive Brahmin system or this the Jogi system that there was already set up. Let's take that out of there and give it to the whole Sansar. Let's give it to all of India. So these Bhagats did prachar in a very simple way, not in Sanskrit, but in the simple common Boli, in the common language that everyone was accustomed to. They will speak in those languages. Then, when you come up to Slowly, the Bhagat movement moved towards Punjab. Punjab, you have 11th century Bhagats, 12th, 3rd century Bhagats, 13th century Bhagats. Then eventually, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj took avatar in this world. Shri Guru Nanak Aap Parameshwar Avatar liyo shab vans pradhana. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj in Sarablo Gurbani, they say, Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they themselves are Parameshwar, they themselves are Paramatma. Avatar liyo Shubh Vans Pradhana, they took avatar into the Shubh Vans, the pure ones, the Bedi Kul. Tin Bediyan ki kul bikha, pragte nanak raye, sab sikhan ko sukh de, jah tah pe sahay. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj in Dasam Gurbani says that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj took avatar into this kul called the Bedi Kul. Bedi Kul vich avatar ਲੈ ਕੇ Maharaj ਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ. They gave peace to all the Guru Sikhs around the world. Now, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj was the pinnacle, was the highlight of this Bhakti movement. They took this Bhakti movement, they standardized it. They gave it a home. They gave it a format. Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is the home of that Bhakti movement. And Indians will recognize this. Scholars across India will recognize that Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is divine. Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj has all those Bhagats that spoke against that exclusive system and turned Dharam into inclusiveness. Turned that exclusive Dharam and brought it to every single house. Now, that movement continuing on became the Khalsa. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj took that movement where it was just Bhakti and gave it Shakti. Where there was just Bhakti, they gave it Shakti. Where there was just Sant, they gave it Sapai. They put the hands, they took those hands that only were used to holding the rosary, the mala, and they gave it the Kirpan. They said, Kirpan pan tariyang, karod pa patariyang. They said, hey Sikho, hey Lok, India de Lok, if you were to hold this Kirpan into your hands, so many paps will go away. People could not see, people were not able to say the word Paramatma and a weapon in the same line. People were not able to say gun and God in the same line. Guru Sahib said, your gun is your God. Guru Sahib said, these Shastras are your God. Guru Sahib changed the whole philosophy. What it seems to be changed, but actually it just advanced. It evolved. Guru Sahib took the Bhakti movement and gave it a evolution. They evolved it so that it can stay for jugs and jugs. And that whole process was divinely orchestrated. Khalsa Akal Purkh ki Foj, Pragateo Khalsa Paramatman ko Moj. Because Khalsa, it's been divinely orchestrated. It was created by Paramatma. Why has it become Pragat in this sansar? Pragateo Khalsa Paramatma ko Moj. Paramatma di Moj si, Paramatma da Anand si, Paramatma da Kheda si to see their Khalsa bloom in the sansar. Now, understanding the basics of that movement, now look at Gurbani. When Bhagat Kabir Ji says, Path padyo ar ved vicharyo nigam pyangam sadde, panchanasyo sang na chutyo. When they say these Shabats, what is it targeting? It's targeting those high class people who label themselves as Brahmins, Pandits, whatever you want to call them. But the main thing was they kept Dharam to themselves. When Bhagat Kabir Ji speaks, they speak out to those people and they say, you have not let this Dharam flow into the normal house. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, all their Gurbani is written in the Aam Pasha. Yes, there's areas where Guru Sahib shows their kala, shows their scholarly knowledge by writing things in Farsi and Sanskrit, mixing the two up in Arabic, and like we will see. But most of it is for the common person. That's where the language of Bridge or Braj comes in, because it's a common boli. Maybe we talked about this in our in that course we did, the Santhya presentation we did. It all the grunts that we learn as well, as if someone wants to become a kathavachik, or or someone wants to partake in the Vidya Sanskar, if a Gursik wants to learn Vidya, they're all grunts that were translated from Sanskrit or Farsi into the common Boldi. So you can see the philosophy of Gurmat is so deep, it's so deep. It's not limited just to Punjabis. It's not limited to just one area of people. It's for the whole world. It's for the common person. Now, the reason I mentioned this was that bhakti comes in two ways: nirgun and sargun. Nirgun bhakti is worshipping that divine, that Paramatma, who has no form, who has no color, who has basically what the Chapad Chant said. Chakar, Chehna, or Baran, Jat, or Patma. The one that has no chakar, has no chehna. We talked about these words already. So I'm just giving you, I'm just throwing them at you. Roop Rang, no Roop, no Rang, no Rekh, no Pekh. The Murti of Paramatma is internal. The Murti of Nirgun Parameshwar does not exist. That's why when we see Aarti, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, Gagan Mai Thal, Rav Chand Deepak Bane, Tarka Mandal Janak Moti. They say that Paramatma ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਰਤੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ. Planets are doing your bhakti. ਧੂਪ ਮਲਿਆਨ ਲੋ ਪਵਨ ਚਵਰੋ ਕਰੇ. The air is doing your chavar. Your all these different elements in the whole srishti are doing your puja. So what can I do? Kaisi aarti hoy? That's nirgun puja. That's nirgun aradhana. But now there's sargun as well. Sargun, you just look down a few shabads and you see Siri San. And what does Bhagat Sanji say? They say, Toop deep krit saji aarti. They say, hey Maharaj, hey Malakji, hey Parmeshwar, I'll do your aarti. What I'll do, I'll gather toop. Toop means incense. I'll gather deep. Deep means dive. I'll gather krit. Krit means kyo. ਸਾਜ ਆਰਤੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਜ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਰਤੀ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਵਾਰਨੇ ਜਾਓ ਕਮਲਾਪਤੀ ਹੇ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਕਮਲਾਪਤੀ ਮੀਨਸ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ husband of Maya. Kamala means Maya, Lakshmini. Te Pati means husband. Varne jao, I'm a sacrifice to you, I'm a sacrifice to you. This is now Sargun Puja. This is Sargun Aradhana. When we look at Takats like Takat Hajur Sahib, Takat Keskar Sahib, and we see them doing Aarti in the evenings, they do Sargun Puja. Why? Because Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is physical. Sargun means physical. Nirgun means not physical. Nirgun. Gun means a three gun samaya. Nir means without. Sargun. Sar means sarb, all. All the guns are maya. Meaning sargun means physical, nirgun means not physical. In nirgun bhakti, there is only one. There's only oneness. There's only a dvat. There's no two. Therefore, there can be no Sikh, no Guru. Therefore, there can be no bad and there can be no good. Therefore, there can be no black and there could be no white. Therefore, there can be no color and there could be no size. That's nirgun. Sargun now is the embodiment of nirgun. In Guru Granth Sahib, in all of Gurbani, you have both siddhants, you have both philosophies. Because remember, the Bhakti movement was both. It was Sargun and Nirgun. Popular in the south was Sargun, popular in the north was Nirgun. But Sargun aap, Nirgun pi ohi kalatar. मान लेते कि Parameshwar is both Sargun and Nirgun. And there's different ways, there's different terminology used for Sargun and Nirgun. For example, one terminology used for Nirgun is Akal, the word we're talking about today. And one terminology used for Sargun is Kal or Kalika. Now some things might be coming together. Jaap Sahib starts with Akal, then goes into Akal Ustat. the Samgurbani. It starts with Jaap Sahib. The first word is Namastung Akal. Namastung Akalan. The first word is Akal. Nirgun. Then, after Jaap Sahib, you got Akal Ustad. So again, still Nirgun Di Puja. Nirgun Aradhana. Where there is nothing, there's no color, there's no size, there's no up and down, there's nothing besides that oneness. There's nothing that exists besides oneness. This is Nirgun. Now, Sargun. Sargun is where there's two. There's me and there's you. There's Guru and there's Sikh. There's big and there's small. Sargun. In the house of Guru Nanak, both exist, both coincide. When we get confused is when we take one side and forget the other. We get confused. People say, why do we do Matha Tekana to Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj? Isn't Paramatma everywhere? Why do we do Chor Sahib on top of Maharaj when Guru Sahib said, Pavan Chavaro Kare? When the ear is doing the Chor, then why do we do Chor Sahib? Why is there a Shattar on top of Maharaj when Maharaj is everywhere? Why are we idolizing Maharaj in one area when Maharaj is everywhere? Well, there's two concepts. There's Nirgun Parmeshwar, which is everywhere. Then there's Sargun Parmeshwar, which Guru Sahib has given us three forms of Sargun Parmeshwar. The first form they have given us is Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Gurbani. Dasam Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Sarbla Guru Granth Sahib Ji. This is Gurbani. This is the physical form of Parmeshwar. The second form of Parmeshwar is the Saz Sangat, the Gursik, the Brahm Gyani. The third form of Parmeshwar is the Shastar. Yes, Parmeshwar is everywhere, but that's just book knowledge for us, isn't it? It's hard for us to see Parmeshwar in a cup of coffee. It's hard to see Parmeshwar. Forget about inanimate things. Look at people. It's hard for us to see Parmeshwar in a living person. Punjab ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਕਵੀ ਹੋਇਆ. There has been a poet in the ਧਰਤੀ of Punjab. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੇ ਸਜਣਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਦੇਖਣ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਅੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ. They say Paramatma isn't far away from you, you just don't have the eyes to see Paramatma. So it's just book knowledge for us that Paramatma is everywhere. It's true, but it's just book knowledge. We have not experienced that. Because we have not experienced that, Guru Sahib has given us Sargun Bhakti as well. They say if the Marg of Gyan is too far away for you, then here's his Shastra, this is your God. Here's his scripture, here's his Vidya, here's his Gurbani, this is your God. Here's his Sad Sangat, this is your God. And you will see the Siddhant of these things in Gurbani when you do Saj Part, when you listen to Katha, you'll be able to pick up these things. But unfortunately, no one's putting it all together. No one's giving this in a way where the confusion can go away. Jaap Sahib, Akal Ustat is all Aradhana of the Nirgun Parmeshwar. That Parmeshwar that is one. Has no size, has no color, nothing. After Bachtar Natak now, you come to Sri Kal Ji ki Ustat. Why Kal Ji? Now it's talking about Sargun Parmeshwar. And if you look at the Samguru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, from Bachtar Natak all the way, you keep going, Chandi Charitar Duja, Chandi Diwar, Gyan Prabodh, 24 Avatara. This is all Sargun Parmeshwar. All these forms of Parmeshwar in the taking a character, taking a physical form. Why? So they can do their kotex, they can do their kala in this sansar. And we'll see that in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj when Maharaj says Satchuk te manyo, chalyo balabavan payo, in Satchuk Ji you came in the form of Vishnu. Treta te manyo Ram Raghavans kahayo, in the Treta Jug Maharaj Nirgun Parmeshwar you came in the form of Ramchandra Ji. Dwapar Krishna Marar Kans Kirtarth Kiyo, Maharaj in Dwapar you came in the form of Krishna Ji. Te Kans nu tusi maar ditta si. Ugrasen ko Raj apੈ ਜਨ ਭਗਤ ਹੈ ਦਿਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਗਰਸੈਨ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਜ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੇਵਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਪੈਤਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ you gave them fearlessness. Now ਕਲਯੁਗ ਪਰਮਾਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਅੰਗਦ ਅਮਰ ਕਹਾਇਓ ਇਹ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਲਯੁਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਧਾਰਿਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਅੰਗਦ, ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਧਾਰਿਆ। ਕਲਯੁਗ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਅੰਗਦ ਅਮਰ ਕਹਾਇਓ। ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਰਾਜ ਅਬ ਚਲ ਅਟਲ ਆਦ ਪੁਰਖ ਫਰਮਾਇਓ। ਭੱਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਵਈਏ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ। This proves, or this helps us to understand the concept of Nirgun Sargun. We look at Sargun as different things. We say, oh, hoya, oh, Hindu da Rabb si, Muslimana da Rabb hai. And then we come around and say, you know what, Paramatma is one. But how does those two tie in together? Hadi Paramatma is one, Nirgun Parameshwar. And then that same Paramatma, for its bhagats, it comes into the sansar in different forms, in different ways. In Kaljog, they have come in the form of Parameshwar themselves. Shri Guru Nanak Aap Parameshwar Avatar Liyo Shabvans Pradhana. So this is the vichar of Akal to Kal. So when you read Bani on like Bachtarnatic, अब मैं अपनी कथा बखानू गुरु साहब से मैं हुन अपनी कथा दसेंगा तन्नू सोडी बंस उपजया जथा how has my call Sodi Bans come to play, where am I coming from? All that is sargun, all that is physical. That's why they start with Kal Ji ki Ustat. They start with the physical form of Paramatma. They start doing praise of the physical form. But Jaap Sahib is a Nirgun form of Paramatma. The form of Paramatma that has no color, no sizes. It's only oneness there. Now that concept of Nirgun Sargun, which we described as Akal to Kal, it will have different terminologies to it. You can call it Bhagavant Nirgun. And it's this Sargun form, you can call it Bhagoti. And that word has come up a lot too. Sri Bhagoti Ji Sahib. You call that Nirgun Parmeshwar Kadar, and you call its form, its Shakti Kudrat. That's what Shakti means. Shakta, Shakti. Shakta means Nirgun. Shakti means its energy. Its physical form is its energy. The word Kudrat comes up as well. Kudrat kavan kahan vichar varna java ek var Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj Japji Sahib. So the mentions of Nirgun Sargun are everywhere in Gurbani. It just means the eyes to see it. Guru Sahib has started their jobs have this chant by saying Namastwang Akali. कि मैं हे परमेश्वर तेनों मेरी नमस्कार हाँ तू अकाले हाँ तू निर्गुण हाँ. You're outside the hands of God. You're outside the hands of time. You're outside the hands of Sargun. You're Advait. You have one form, and that one form is everything we can see. मेरी नमस्कार है. Namas means namaskar. Twang means tanu. हे मालिक जी, हे परमेश्वर जी, मेरी नमस्कार तन्नू है क्योंकि तुसी अकाले हो. So this is the format we'll be looking at the Katha in the preceding weeks. Today it was very important for us to understand the concept of Akal. Because Jaap Sahib is all Akal di puja, Akal di aradhana, Akal di bhakti. Later Maharaj's Kripa Akal Ustat hoegi. Akal Ustat is also Akal di Ustat. Then you will have Sargun Parmeshwar, starting with the article all the way onwards. Shastranam Mala, this is all Sargun Parmeshwar. Okay. So the concept of Nirgun Sargun, this is just the overlay concept. It's much, much deeper than this. I was just giving you the overlay just to kind of like get your feet a little wet in the concept. So that you can look at Gurbani from the concept, from the context, I believe is meant to be looked at. So ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਿਸ਼ਰਾਮ ਦੇਂਗੇ ਅੱਜ ਵਾਸਤੇ. And what I'll do is I'm going to check over in the questions area just to see if we have any questions. And that's a great question, Ji. Tips for memorizing Jaap Sahib. I think the best way that I personally found is that you would have to kind of like take it one chant at a time. Right? So let's say Shapa Chanta ho gaya na, Chakar Chin wala ho gaya. And let's say you're looking at Pajang Priyat Chant. Try to read one pankti without looking at your Gurkha Sahib and see how you go one pankti at a time. Do one pankti in your mind, then look at the Gurkha Sahib. Then do the second pankti in your mind. Then look at the second pankti. Then do the third pankti then in your mind or out loud without looking at your gutka. Then look at your gutka sahib. And this way you'll see where you're messing up. What I find in jobs is a lot of teleporting will happen. A lot of teleporting will happen in the first chand. A lot of teleporting. uh, uh, and if you can get the basic understanding of the chants, like there's two chatri chants, okay? One will start with one will start with arup hai. The next one will start with apang hai. So like if you just have those in your mind, okay, do chatri chand aa gayi. And then there's gonna be two bhagwati chants. One is gonna be kathate, one's gonna be without that. One's gonna start with ke jahara juhur, one's not gonna start with ke jahara juhur. And then within those so within each chant, so there's gonna be an overlay concept of recognizing all the chants there are. Then within each chant, there'll be teleporting places there as well. So you're gonna so the best way I found is just you jump into it. You know, you just tackle it one punkti at a time, one chant at a time. You know, don't expect to know the whole bani um in a month. You know, das nu hi kafi sama lag gaya si. Cause I got into this game of Sikhi pretty late in my life. So summer lag janda. You know, first we just read it through the Gutka Sahib. Then we icha jagi. Ki hey, you got all the other Bani account. Warang got Jaap Sahib account as well. Icha jagi fit, you know, with that icha, like you guys have the icha to memorize Jaap Sahib. Ki ono any tackling it one chand at a time without any support. And if you have a friend, if you're married or you have kids or you have a friend you're living with, say here, hold this Gutka Sahib, help me memorize this one chand, you know, and they'll listen to you and they'll say, hey, I think you just got lost there. Then you will start recognizing where you're teleporting from, where's your mistakes. Then you'll catch your mistakes holy with weeks of time, sometimes months. You'll understand okay, how to memorize it, you know. So that's what I would say is you just have to tackle it head on,
Hanji.
one chant at a time.
And just on that note, like even on Discord, because it's a sangat, right? We are doing sangat with each other, and here also we sometimes do like Barney Cunt sessions where like basically someone is holding Go to 7, listening to someone else, and doesn't even matter if they're in different time zone. We sometimes just get together, and if you are one of those people who do want to do memorize jobs or any other Barney, you can definitely DM me, and I'll get you guys connected. And we do that randomly. Like sometimes we do Barney Cunt sessions at on Discord as well.
Beautiful by Surgery. Both ਵਧੀਆ ਉਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ. Okay, second question. Sorry, that this is a off topic, but what advice would you give to someone preparing to go to an Amrit Sanchar? Ji Maharaj, both with your question as well. Okay, if you're preparing to go to an Amrit Sanchar, I would say get your mind right. You know, get your thoughts right. Okay, Amrit Sanchar is all about your bhavana. You know, Amrit Sanchar is all about it's a one-time life and opportunity where you're gonna go and say, Maharaj, I'm yours. मैं दुनिया ਨੂੰ मैं दुनिया ਨੂੰ अलविदा कहता या I've said bye to the world and I'm coming to your house. You know, this is it. This is me. Amrit Sanchar is signing off your death sentence. Amrit Sanchar is signing off like I do not exist for this world anymore. Leah Sadora Leen Bhag Kabir ji. When they talk about a sati, they give the example of a sati and they show how a bhagat should be a bhagat. You know? They say that when in those days, those Jamanne, when when a wife would lose her husband, she would go and she will also join the cremation fire. When she would do that, so they're taking that analogy and they're giving it towards the bucket. They're not agreeing with that whole concept. Obviously, like sati was abolished. Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, you know, uh, spoke against it, and they had Akbar kind of pass a law against it and everything like that. So obviously, Gurmat has no place for sati, but it's just an analogy. Okay, so in the same way, like Bhagat Namdev talks about a drug addict and how Bhagat Ji loves Nam just like a drug addict. They're not supporting the analogy; it's just an analogy to give you the understanding of the concept. So when the sati will go into the fire, what she'll do is before she'll go in, she'll sign off. She'll sign off. You know what? I am now done with this world. I am going to my husband. You know, and that sign off was illustrated by taking a coconut and taking a sandoor, like this red like tikka, and putting it onto the coconut. And she'll leave that outside The world will know, you know what? This girl has just now gone to join her husband in death. In that same way, Bhagat Kabir ji, they say, Haath Sadora Leen, ki I have now signed off. I have now signed off from this world. They, I'm now going to my Malik ji, my Parmeshwar. And that's what Amrit Sanchar is meant to be. You signing off from the world. It's a one-time opportunity. You'll never get to redo your first Amrit ever again. You know, yes, you can go do Peshi, but it'll never be the same experience again. So what I would advise is that before you go, sit down with yourself, talk to yourself. Okay, this is it. This is why we're going. Why are we going? This is why we're going. Why? What are we trying to do? We're trying to give her a head, or whatever your pavana is. You know, whatever your pavana you're carrying at that moment. Let your heart speak, and then without turning your phone out, without making a WhatsApp status. Not like saying I'm not saying you would, but without touching your social media, jump into that Amrit Sanchar, and come out with Maharaji's blessings. Third question. So it's like the Nirgun Paramatma is indescribable, while the Sargun is like how people have their different names for Paramatma, like Allah Ram. Exactly. 100%. Nirgun Paramatma is Aname. It has no name. You can't say any name for it. Sargun Paramatma, you will have a name for it because they'll have a characteristic. The name is produced by the karmas that Paramatma have done. If the Paramatma came in the form of a avatar and they saved people, people will have different names. Like, for example, a lot of names in Gurbani are based off of those karams that someone might have done. You know, Chandika. We say Chandika. We call Paramatma Chandika. Why? Because Orane Chandi Numar, Chandi si. She came in the form of Chandi. Mandaka. Why Mandaka? Because they killed the dad. They killed different dads with those names. So, मतलब ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਮ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਖੀ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਐਸਾ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰਸੰਗ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦਾ so that's a really good question ji. Fourth question, will you upload any new kathas on YouTube soon ji? Maybe from the camp you just did ji. Hanji ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਜੀ ਮਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ we'll definitely love to upload some new videos on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called Tera Sevak, so just plugging that in 13 Sevak. And Maaj Kirpa Karan, we'll definitely love to with your Sisa ji. Hanji. Okay, fifth question, could Abji read Chapa Chand in the Chand tune, please? Okay, so the Chand tune, basically the Chal, the tune, I'm guessing we mean the Chal here. The Chal is based off the Vishrams. When you give a Vishram, you're gonna make the Chal. For example, the Savaya. पाएंगा हे जब ते तुम्हारे तब ते को वाकतरे nahi आन्यो. By those vishrams on a certain beat, it creates the chal. Then the melody, you can put any melody you want. You could sing in the melody, they sing in Darbar Sahib. You could sing in the melody, they sing in Hajur Sahib. Melodies will change, but the chal will stay the same because the vishram always stays the same. Now Chakar chain of which you have the vishram on the 13th beat. So that will be on the first line, it will be on Jaat. So Chakar Chahin, Arbaran Jaat, Arpat Nahin Jeh. So this will be the chal. Right? Why is it? So some chals are more noticeable and some are not. For example, Kabits, they're more noticeable. Saveye, they're more noticeable. Why? Because they're longer panktiyan. Because they're longer, they have more vishrams. Not because they have more vishrams, then you have a more tune to it. Does that make sense? For example, there's a bit from Akalusat. कतहु सुचेत होय क्या चेतना सुचार कियो कतहु अचिंत होय क्या सोवत अचेत हो. So now I read this in tune because I stopped at the Vishrams and it was a long line, so it's more melody to it, there's more tune to it, there's more chalish to it. And then like I said, you can change the melody as you want. कतहु सुचेत होय क्या चेतना सुचार कियो कतहु अचिंत होय क्या सोवत अचेत हो कतहु भिखारी होय क्या मांगत फेरत भीख कहूँ महादान होय क्या मांग्यो तन देत हो. So the longer the pankti, the more there's going to be a tune to it. The smaller the pankti, the less tune you'll be able to find with it because there'll be less vishrama. So in Chapachan, there's only one vishram per pankti. So basically, the way you must have heard it will be the proper tune. Okay, ji. Question number 6. Bhai Sahib ji, when aap ji continue with Sikhandi Pagdamala line by line explanation, when aap ji continue with... Oh, sorry ji. Haan ji, we have been continuing. It's just that Das has not been uploading to the SoundCloud page. I will get to that as well. I didn't know there's actually listeners out there. मैं तो अभी I just upload them and like hopefully कोई देख लेगा. But I had no idea that there's actually people interested in the YouTube and the SoundCloud page. So आप जी सीसा हैं जी. We'll definitely get those things out there then. And seventh question. When you go to the Gurdwara, you should always do parikrama 3 times, right? And then do you bow down to the satsanga or you don't need to? Dekho ji, this is your pavna. This is your shraddha. You know, some people go to Guru Kar do dandot. Dandot means dande wang otlani. Dandot means to bow down as a danda, like a stick, flat on the ground. Um, some people will do parikrama from the right. Some people do parikrama. So that is your shraddha. You know, this is totally your shraddha. How many times you do it? 1 time, 3 times, 10 times, 15 times is your shraddha. Sant Guru Bachchan Singh Ji kept doing parikrama all the time. Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. When we went to go see Bhagat Ji in Bhagat Ji's house, their sevadar is there. They'll do raras and they'll keep doing parikrama around Guru Granth Sahib Ji, around Guru Granth Sahib Ji, unlimited amount of times. So I would say it's your Shraddha ji. Das Zero Janda, I tried to do 3 times. And the 3 times could signify, you're giving your mind, your body, in your whole jind, your the whole Jan to Maharaj. So again, it's your Shraddha. Das tries to do 3 times personally. But key bari danda ki like there's a lot of sangat there. They're not used to you doing it 3 times. So then at that moment I'll just do once. But if there's no one there, go darbar sajjaya na, and then I'll definitely do 3 times when there's no one there. So it's just more comfortable. And then do you bow down to the satsanga? I personally do. I do namaskar to the satsanga because, like we said, Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is Sargun Parmeshwar, and so is the satsangat as well. Anji. So it's karke I bow to satsangat. I bow down to the shastras. I mean, when you do namaskar to Granth Sahib, you're also bowing down to the shastras. They're right there in front of Maharaj. So, Hanji Maharaj. ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਜੀ ਦਾਸ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀ ਆ I'm very thankful to everyone that comes and listens to this weekly katha and ਮੇਰੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਆ just to ਬੇਨਤੀ on your ਚਰਨਸ that please continue coming ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਸਾਂ ਮਿਲਦੀਆਂ we get your blessings ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਵੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ to keep coming and presenting different topics with you guys and continuing forward. Thank you to the Discord team. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੰਯੋਗ ਹੈ you guys are doing amazing ਉਪਰਾਲੇ teaching ਸੰਥਿਆ and doing all these other things. So Das is very thankful to everyone. ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਦੀ ਖਿਮਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਣੀ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ
ਖਾਲਸਾ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ